Are home prices going negative? Is ChatGPT poison or a cure? Plus, we have a very special guest, legendary brokerage owner, real estate coach, and entrepreneur. Nick McLean will be joining us today. This is Scale Through the Fail. Let's get this party started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Scale Through the Fail, where we bring you what's real estate news, tell you what's noise, and what to do next. Listen, we've got some crazy topics to talk about today. We're going to be getting into Black Knights, basically their data that they released that's talking about maybe home prices going negative. Is that accurate? Is it just a misunderstanding of the data? We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about something that, unless you've been living on a rock, you have heard of ChatGPT everywhere, whether you think it's a scam or just a fad, or it's the next evolution of AI. There always is a debate when a new invention comes out on the ethics side of it. Where does it get into the ethics of everything that we're doing? So we're going to be discussing that as well. But as always, first and foremost, we are going to be giving you a quick, short update on what the mortgage is going on with Larry, my man Larry. Good morning, brother. How you doing today?
Morning, boss. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. So we got some news for us today. Exactly. We're going to try and hit this in 5 minutes or less, guys, because some of the mortgage news is actually going to kind of bleed into the topic today. So let's get this party started. Go ahead and take it away, Larry.
Basically, mixed performance for mortgage rates. Basically, what they mean is that we're seeing a lot of or a lot more fluctuations, right? Last week we were celebrating because we saw the lowest rates in 4 months, and now the rates are the highest they've been in a month, which is kind of expected because corrections, right? And that's what the next piece of information would be, is that the volatility is expected. It's literally a week of correction and reversals in mortgage rates.
Larry, it
right?
just feels like this relationship we have with the mortgage rates is just very shaky. I feel like we keep giving mortgage rates a second chance, and mortgage rates keeps proving that they're unreliable, and we just can't trust them.
Well, they're actually pretty reliable because they're reacting to what's going on in the market, right?
Okay, so it's not their fault; it's everybody else.
Yeah, let's blame we'll talk about the mortgage rates first. We were at 5.99 last week, and this week we're at 6.45. So pretty much half a point, which is pretty significant, right? But again, corrections, right? My prediction, will go a little bit lower, maybe not the fives anytime soon, but definitely between 6.45 and 6, right? And the MBS pricing has actually dropped as well, pretty much a $1.50, which of course significantly affects mortgage rates. So
We haven't talked about MBS in a while, Larry. Will you remind people who are watching why MBS is so important when it comes to the interest rates? Just real quick.
Yeah. So MBS or bonds, they dictate mortgage rates offerings. For the most part, lenders are looking at the MBS, right? MBS are mortgage-backed securities. They're constantly being churned out because as more loans are being created, they package them into MBSs, and then they're sold in the open market, right? So the fact that the prices are going down, that means that the confidence in mortgage-backed security is going down because they're not priced as high. Therefore, rates go up as a response, right?
So like stocks, basically, if you were going to kind of put in a layman's terms that someone has, like if someone sees a stock price go down, that usually might not drive up demand because it looks less favorable. Or is it more of like a dividend side of it? If a stock has really good dividends and those dividends start to go down, how would you break it down even easier?
So basically, the price is a result of confidence, right? It's a result of performance or demand. So the price going down means people are not buying it, right? So that means, well, we're worried about this, right? When bonds lose enough ground on any given day, mortgage lenders can raise their rates in the middle of the day, as opposed to
Right.
waiting for the next day. So basically, it's a reaction. So the rates are reacting to the bond prices, basically, right? So that's the best way I can explain it. I mean,
That
at
makes
least
a lot of
in
sense.
layman's term. Yeah. So mortgage rates in general, as you can see, uh, there are some changes in certain places and certain areas not. FHA and VA, I would say, is the most resilient programs out there. I mean, there are a point difference, but they're still under the sixes, right? But the other rates, for the most part, uh, they didn't get affected as much, right? So it's really, from my perspective, we all look at the conforming rate because that's like the most general rate. That's the one that everyone looks at. So that's the one that I would use most to judge. But if you're looking for FHA and VA, you definitely saw an increase as well.
That makes sense. So why is it that, like, we see some improvement and really it seems like the 30-year fixed is the one that get hit the hardest over the last, like, normally we see every once if the 30-year fixed is in red, right? We usually see everything else sitting in red. But on the ARM, the jumbos, we see no changes. And then on the 15, 30-year FHA, 30-year VA, they're still looking good.
So from my perspective, a lot of the reactions are done on Tuesday, the early part of the week, right? And we're getting our data on Thursday, right? So there might have been a little bit of overcorrection,
Mm,
from Thursday and Wednesday, and then they're kind of bouncing back a little bit. That's again, that's all theory, right? But that's how I look at it.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Um, so like we said, it was the lowest in it was since 5 months. It was actually 4 months, but popped quickly to the highs in 1 month by Tuesday. Again, a little bit of correction and reversal. Things have calmed down a little bit, meaning it shot up early in the week, but they've calmed down, meaning like they're less volatile towards the end of the week. But we anticipate a little bit of activity on Tuesday. So right now it's more consistent, or we call it a flatter baseline, right? So we'll see on Tuesday. And of course, like we said earlier, bonds have been losing ground. They were over 100, now they're under 100, and that just equals mortgage rates increasing. So if you want to know if the rates are going to go up and go down, just look at the MBS and see how it's performing, and you can have a pretty good indication what to expect.
And of course, we got a bonus takeaway today.
Yes, this is something that just because we've been researching Black Knight a lot, and this came out of a Black Knight, what do you call
Which
it,
we
an
will be
article.
covering shortly.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a quick blurb about it. Basically, more than half of borrowers are paying some sort of discount points to buy down the rate, right? So let's say the rate is actually a 7% interest rate, but they're forced to buy down to a 6.5% interest rate because of the cost, right? So when people ask me what does that mean, it's like basically you're a 7% interest rate in terms of what you actually should qualify for, but you're forced to buy it down because of the way the ratios are. And the buy downs, I say that it's of course sort of a prediction or some sort of loss mitigation that the lenders are creating. But basically, every single person, 50%, more than 50%, I shouldn't say every single person, more than 50% of people are paying some sort of discount point for whatever reason. Now, some of it is the niche offering product, the 321 buy down, where they're actually getting someone else to temporarily buy it down. So after maybe 24 months, 12 months, or maybe 36 months, the rates will go back to normal. But for the time being, they'll pay a lower rate. But the 57% is not talking about all that. The 57% is talking about permanent buy downs. So basically,
Oh,
don't be surprised.
interesting.
Yeah, don't be surprised if you're looking at rates and you're gonna be paying some sort of discount that's already uh, baked in to
Okay.
the price.
That makes a lot of sense. For everybody tuning in, because we got more and more people coming in, first of all, good morning. Second of all, do you have clients or do you yourself use any sort of rate buy downs, whether that's just increasing your down payment and having it applied to a certain part of the loan, whether you use seller concessions? Like, are you turning around and using rate buy downs in your personal mortgages, your investments, for your clients? I would love to know. Drop a comment and let's see. And we will be discussing a little bit more about rate buy downs with our special guest, Nick McLean, coming up soon. But Larry, you know what time it is. Go ahead, Larry. You say it. You love to say it. You muted yourself because he didn't want to risk it.
Oh yeah. What the funny fact or WTFF?
It's time for What the Funny Fact. Random funny facts that make you go, what the FF? And the whole point of this, guys, is two reasons. I actually explained this to someone who was on the show because he was like, it's really weird that you have something funny on your show. And I'm like, I know, right? People hate enjoying themselves. It's so weird. And part of it is it's actually called psychology. It's called associative memory. And what it is you take something bizarre and unexpected, and you put things around that bizarre and unexpected thing that you actually want people to remember. And so you do something super funny, like what you're about to see here, like we do every week. But the goal is that you hear it, you laugh, you break up the monotony. So your brain is like, thank you for giving me a break. You just gave me a buttload of numbers and everything like that. And it's just too much. Okay, take a breather, smile, laugh, and let's move on. You ready, Larry? This is what I was trying to figure out, because I always make the graphics for it. And I'm always like, what am I going to do for this? Because I have to create a whole storyline for it. So here we go.
Yeah, you're like a meme maker. I mean, literally, that's what you are.
So many now know, this is pretty common knowledge now, know that the famous bridge in London, often referred to as the London Bridge, is not actually it. But where is the original London Bridge? So let's kind of walk through that. But Larry, I'm curious. If you know it, I don't want you to say it, but if you do, what country? And I gave you a hint there. It starts with an A.
Well, I mean, I have a guess. I don't know the answer, but I have a guess.
All right, guess what country?
Amsterdam?
Amsterdam? I could see that. There's a bunch of water over there. They need a bridge, right?
Yeah. Don't tell me it's America. That'd be stupid.
All right, so this is kind of how I play it out in my head, all right? You got this tourist guide. He's like, I traveled across the sea just to be able to take a picture of the famous London Bridge. And then a local is like, that's not the London Bridge, mate. Right? That's a terrible impression. I'm going to work on it. Maybe we'll get Nick and you to do some impressions for me. And he goes, what? Right? Because nobody corrects people on this most of the time, right? They just go like, yeah, whatever. It's a bridge in London. It's London Bridge. Pretty easy. Come on now. Yeah, that's the Tower Bridge. So this famous bridge right here is actually called the Tower Bridge, right? So then he's like, oh, okay. So what part of London is the London Bridge in? Because you would just assume then it was just a mistaken identity, right? Oh, it's the other bridge on the other side of town, right? Arizona.
What?
It's the craziest thing. So I'll explain after, okay? So he's like over here. He came all this way just to see the famous London Bridge, the Tower Bridge. Instead, he got rickrolled because the London Bridge is actually in Arizona. Now, here's what happened, right? So when London, it did actually build the bridge, and the bridge was in London, right?
Yes.
What happened is it became too much work to upkeep it. It was in disrepair. So they decided to sell it for scraps, basically. They said, what a weird thing. Like, how do you go about selling a bridge, by the way? I mean, like,
yeah.
What is there a Craigslist? I don't know. Like, ain't going to be on Zillow. Hey, guys, my bridge is for sale. So an entrepreneur in America turned around and said, I'll buy the bridge, shipped the bridge all the way from London to Arizona, and it's the Lake Havasu Bridge now. That is the original. Now, some would argue there were other, actually, like there was a bridge in London built in 45 AD, okay, by the Romans, but it was a temporary bridge. It wasn't called the London Bridge, right? It never held that name. So arguably people say the real London Bridge is this one, and so it was actually sold. So, yeah, how's that one for today, man? Did that make you go, what the FF? Leave a comment with a random funny fact, and we might just feature it in a future episode. All right, let's recap it before we get into our session today with our special guest. So interest rates are up, sad to be told, but Larry and I are going to give you a quick reminder in just a second about that. Mortgage-backed securities are down, pretty coinciding with the rates being up. in that maybe there needs to be a guide on the actual locations of historical landmarks, because now, like, I can't trust anything. You're just like,
Right.
okay, is it actually Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
Right? Or is it Mount like Shushmore? Because nobody's telling me the truth. I don't know. So, one point of return that Larry and I were talking about that we wanted to make. For months, we guys give you these mortgage updates. We encourage you to get your clients moving. If you are a client, if you're someone thinking about mortgages, there have been tens of thousands of dollars that you could be saving if you're prepared on those mortgages. It dropped below the 6. A week later, it's above 6s, mid 6s now. And Larry, I mean, just give him just a quick example of like what that could mean in cost. Basically a 0.6%, 0.6 point difference.
Well, it really depends on the loan size, but I mean, like, in a matter of a week, I saved 3 of my clients collectively $50,000 plus. Two of them were like $16,000 together. Another one was like 24,000. And of course, we're talking about a 30-year, mortgage payment. So, I mean, maybe in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but I mean, that's still money that you're saving, especially if you don't plan to ever refinance, right?
Yep.
A lot of and these are investors. And I told you earlier, I basically materialized these loans, right? Let there be loans, right? Because I was trying to push people, like, listen, the rates are going to go down. I'm not saying they're going to go down a lot, but you need to be ready. You need to be under contract. You need to be shopping. So when the rates do go down, I can lock you right away. And that's exactly what happened. Like, a lot of these people, I saw the rate drop, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 just like within a week, locked like 3-4 loans and saved them $1,000. So those people, they got to enjoy the quick drop, and who knows, the next time we're going to see 5s, right? But they got to enjoy the quick drop, and the people who weren't under contract, the people who weren't pre-approved or whatever, people who are waiting for the lower rate, they kind of missed out, and they might have to wait
Not
maybe a
kind of, they
year. I
did
don't
miss
know.
out, and they keep missing out, and they'll keep missing out until they're ready. And so for agents and lenders that watch this show, right, you've got to keep your pulse on it. Every day, you've got to know what's happening, because some of the moves that Larry made, they happen within hours, even. So keep your pulse, because what's going to happen is, how can you expertly guide your client if you're not an expert on what's happening in your industry? How can you have a client who says, I need to save money on my mortgage and qualify, but you're not diligently making sure that you're looking for every opportunity to, hey, guess what? Save money on their mortgage so they can qualify, right? We should be very proactive. It's part of why we do this show, to remind you each week, hey, keep your pulse on this. If you followed Larry's guidance, or suggestions, I should say, last week, right, you would have had clients locked in under 6, obviously depending on individual scenario. Larry, thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back in just a second with our special guest, so hang tight.
Thanks, boss.
All right, guys, that was What the Mortgage is Going On. We try to do in 5 minutes or less. I don't count the what the funny fact, because we can get a little carried away with that in that 5 minutes. So listen, we're going to be soon moving over to YouTube pretty much exclusively, because the show is about to get a lot more interactive. We're talking music, animations, videos, memes, you name it. It's going to become a much more involved show, and we need the power of YouTube to do that. So make sure that you head on over at Robert Bean Official on YouTube and subscribe. It doesn't look pretty yet, but that's okay. It's like the early stages of the Mona Lisa. You're like, wow, I get to see history being made, or, maybe. All right. Now, more importantly, we're going to get into some crazy, crazy topics today. There's a lot of fear around mortgages. There's a lot of fear around, am I going to lose prices? Is the market crashing? What's going on, right? That you hear two sides of the story. One person says, I'm having the best year ever, making tons of money, I'm doing good. The other person saying everything's bad and the sky's falling apart. Who do you trust? Who do you believe? Let's look at some of the data, and then let's bring on some experts that are going to talk about it. So one of my favorite people in the real estate industry will be joining us today. He is a legendary broker. I mean legendary because the market share he's acquired despite market conditions, the continual education and contribution. Listen, for me, what makes someone legendary isn't that they did one thing great one time. It's that they consistently prove their expertise and their ability to adapt. And that is this man, Nick McLean. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up?
I am so glad you are here today, man. I really am.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. I love that. I love the disruption on that. What the funny fact.
Hey, you know psychology, so you know exactly what I was saying when I. It's also fun, man. It's just a good time. How was your first introduction? Your first 15-ish minutes to the scale to the fail? How'd you like it so
I
far?
love it. I love it. I love this. I love to talk about it. You know, I love to talk on the mortgage side of it. I was talking to my aunt yesterday, 87 years old. She retired from real estate at 83. All right.
Wow.
So she got licensed. She got licensed in the state of Alaska
Before license existed.
soon after. Soon after it became a state, pretty much.
What
And
the heck?
we were talking last night. We were talking about how real estate agents defer qualification standards to lenders, and that she always taught, she said, I taught every one of my agents how to qualify their buyers and educate them on every single loan program, every single interest rate, how buydowns work, right? All of this stuff. You have to understand that. So yeah, it worked for her, man. She had a great life, amazing life. She's still living a fabulous life. So
Man, I couldn't agree more. And we're about to bring Larry on, but I love what you said about that. It's not that you're trying to do the mortgage lender's job. It's that and I've always argued this, and I haven't really had anybody who's disagreed with me so far. I believe that a good agent, emphasize the word good agent, right? Has the absolute most influence in a real estate transaction. They can be the greatest advocate. They can piece it all together. 9 times out of 10, the lender, the inspector, the title company will be replaced before the agent is replaced, meaning they have a ton of impact and influence in what they do. And they can either take that seriously as leaders of the transaction and be true experts. I tell agents all the time, you set the standards for how your business operates. If you've got a partner lender, you don't just blindly hope that they do their job. You say, here's how my company works, and I would love to include your process into my process to strengthen what we do. Here's how we operate, right? And you build that together. But I see so many agents, and I actually talked about this last week, where they let the client tell them how to run their business. They let the lender tell them how to run their business. They let everybody tell them how to run their business. And I'm like, what was the point of hiring you then?
well, we talked about your intro. Very, very nice. Thank you so much. I am actually proud that over the last 15 years, I've seen the ups and the downs. Our team has consistently seen growth. And part of the reason is we don't train how to be order takers. In the last 3 years in the real estate industry, a lot of agents, they didn't have the training. They became order takers. Answer a Zillow call, answer a realtor call, and open doors. And you got lucky.
You got lucky.
Got lucky. And so now this is kind of nice. I'm loving it right now because it's like, ooh, baby, this is where the people that are leaders, that understand the industry, that can guide people, right?
Are you an expert or not? Right? You walk into a doctor's office, you look at the doctor and say, hey, listen, this is how I want you to do my surgery. The doctor's going to look at you and say, how about we just put you under right now and just start there? Okay. All right. I'm the expert. I'm the expert. I'm going to hear you. I'm going to have empathy. I'm going to acknowledge your fears and concerns. I'm going to process that into something useful, into something that actually provides solutions. All right, let's get into our topic today. So we have a couple articles. Nick, fortunately, one of the great things we do about this show is I'm actually going to read you some blurbs real quick, kind of paraphrases of what's going on and where these articles are based from. Because, some of these articles are mountains of data, especially with mortgage rates. They could take forever to read. So I don't make anybody read them in advance. Instead, I just try to do some quick blurbs about them because it's not too hard to extract the highlight points and kind of discuss them. So what we're talking about today is Black Knight's forecast for native home price growth. Now, Black Knight, a lot of people don't know that, but they monitor an unbelievable amount of data inside the mortgage world. Nick, I'm sure you're already aware of that. I wouldn't be surprised if you've met with Black Knight before and coached them on something, because you're amazing, man. So listen, Black Knight's had a series of articles over basically the last 3 months, right, Larry? Basically like one each month that they've released. And each one is kind of a little confusing because you're trying to figure out what they're trying to tell us. So The main one that I'm going to reference is actually the most recent one as well. So here's kind of the my dramatic description of it. The Black Knight's mortgage monitor for December brings a chilling warning. The ominous shadow of negative home price growth is fast approaching. 6 straight months of home price declines have resulted in the annual home price growth rate dropping to a mere 5.0%. It's the slowest since the start of the pandemic, which I don't even know. Did the pandemic end or not? I honestly don't know. Like when is it officially over? I don't know. If the current trend continues, Black Knight warns that the annual home price growth rate will turn negative within the next 3 months, leading to a loss of homeowner equity and tappable equity. Actually, I have them. It's this one. Yeah. I put them backwards. So right off the bat, it's a little confusing because the article even this is a pretty big site for that references a ton of mortgage industry data. But what's a little bit confusing, Nick and Larry, that I found in this particular article was they didn't say the range of ownership time in the home. So is it losing equity with homeowners in the last year, or is it losing equity because that can happen in a strong market too? It depends on how much you pay for the home, right? And so before we get into that, they released other articles that talked about how the strength of where is it? I have it here.
So are they saying the homeowner has negative equity, right? They're not saying home prices are going down. They're saying, oh, you have negative equity,
leading to a loss of homeowner equity. Home price growth rate will turn negative.
Growth rate returns. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
an index.
It's alluding to appraisals, right? Like the appraisals, if you were to appraise it today versus earlier, you might actually see a lower appraisal price. I that's what I got from it.
I have some opinions on this, Robert, but
I want to hear them. No, this is exactly what I want to talk about. So seriously, so let's hear those opinions.
Well, whose ox is being gored? Whose ox is on the line here? Okay, well, I don't know. Call me crazy, Robert. You're the expert. Larry, you're the expert here with the stock markets and stuff. Is Black Knight traded publicly?
Ooh.
Are they traded publicly?
I believe so, actually.
A quick Google search will show you that they're traded publicly.
Yeah.
So,
they are.
It may be. They are starting to put out negative news about the housing market so that the stock price is already reflecting negative news in the future. And then, whoa, what happens? We exceed expectations in the future. And what will happen when Black Knight says, we told you it was bad, but guess what? It's not as bad as we said. What do you think will happen to their stock price if they say, it's not as bad? It's bad, but it's not as bad as we thought.
Hopium.
That's actually, people will buy the stock.
That's what I call it.
I don't know. I'm not, I'm just,
it's funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go for it, Larry.
I was saying it's funny because we've talked about that before in the past, Robert.
We haven't we?
How people will actually give out loaded information for the chance of growing credibility, the chance of course, again, making people happier, right? Like, hey, we're predicting to be bad, but if things are good, then you're not going to get mad at us. But if we predict things are going to be good and they end up bad, then we're the bad guys.
Yeah, we're getting down a conspiracy theory route here. But I can tell you this: you think Black Knight, $1 trillion company, has PR reps? Do you think they have public relationship people that write these articles? Right? They spin it. Now, here's the thing: is there truth? I think so. And a homeowner with negative equity acts a lot differently than a homeowner with equity that's going down. As soon as you own an investment, your home that you were told as soon as you were born in America, the American dream, a homeowner is an investment. It's an investment. Investments are supposed to go up in value, and now you have negative. You're making a payment on something that's depreciating. We're okay with cars. See, the car industry, They did a fabulous job. They're like, listen, you're going to buy this. As soon as you take it off the lot, it's worth less. And we're okay with that because they were upfront with it. But when you buy a home, you were told it's going to go up. And now it's worth negative. And I saw this during the recession. As soon as people saw negative equity, they didn't see the point anymore. They were so myopic about it. They weren't playing the long term. And we had strategic foreclosures. I don't know if you guys
Okay.
Strategic foreclosure. So this is like the doom and gloom side of this. Black Knight probably just protecting their stock value and getting some good return numbers in the future. Doom and gloom, people walk away from the homes.
Here's what's crazy, okay? You guys ready for this conspiracy theory stuff? Okay?
I'm ready.
And I don't actually believe in conspiracy theories in this sense, because I actually absolutely believe in market manipulation. I absolutely believe that there is so much lack of context and proper, like, absolutely. If there wasn't, we wouldn't need all the regulations that we have, because regulations are reactive. They always come after someone's done something and got caught, by the way. They don't come before someone gets caught. They come after someone gets caught. Now, here's something that's crazy, and I wonder if this is in any way also. So early last year, a lot of people don't know this. Early last year, Black Knight was acquired. Do you know who Black Knight was acquired by?
The Rothschilds.
The NASDAQ. I mean, not NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, I see.
Okay. For 13.1 billion. Okay. And then basically every piece of information after it was acquired was two things that they were doing. They were acquiring smaller subsidiaries. Okay. They were going in, making cash offers, 200 million here, buying up this, and then negative home price forecasting. Which, guess what? Like you said, Nick, what everybody does is they lead up to the board reviews, the board meetings, where they get to go in and they get to sell themselves short so that they can look like heroes when they show up and do something that they should have, they knew they should have been able to do already, right? So they make themselves look like a hero for acting normal. And so I would not be surprised if we saw like reports coming out as things start to shift a little bit in the market, of Black Knight saying everything's looking good, we're exceeding expectations. Yes, it's been hard, but we're newly acquired, right? What does every new CEO want to prove when they acquire a company? That they're better than the last guy. They didn't screw up as the last guy, that the board trusted them with this massive purchase and they can be trusted with that type of decision making. So what do? You underpromise, right? If he fails, and by he, I just mean the entity. If the entity fails at making Black Knight more profitable, they've already led their scapegoat of the market's bad. Everything's bad.
No, yeah. And, as a real estate, I'm still selling real estate, not personally, but my team. You don't want to have rose-colored glasses and like be that cheesy agent that's like, it's going to be good. Just always spinning one side. But here's the thing, like forecasts, you want to cure yourself of worrying about forecasts, right? Read the forecast from last week. So instead of reading the forecast as forecasting for the week ahead, read the ones from a week ago. That'll cure you, because you'll realize they were all wrong. They were all wrong, right? Or most of them. They weren't any more accurate. They weren't any more accurate than your cab driver.
That's the funniest thing I've heard so
far. So that's something to think about when I look at this. But I think it's fabulous. I also see home values are going down, in certain marketplaces. That's real.
Emphasis on certain markets. That's really important. I don't know if you know this, Nick. You might know this. Every month, usually the first Monday of every month in my state, because I only have access to my MLS state. One day I will change that, and there will be a national MLS owned by agents and brokerages. But that's a whole different conversation. But I actually do local market data, and I teach agents locally. Here's everything that's happening in your market, and here's what to do with the information, essentially like a local level of this show. But I show them the local market data, and there are places where actually home prices went up month over month. In mine.
Robert, who's our audience? Who's our audience here? Is
agents?
it agents? Agent.
brokerages, team leaders, right? Real estate
Oh,
professionals.
okay, good. That's why I thought. I just want to be clear here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to understand appreciation, depreciation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is velocity to
Mm.
you. You want velocity, right? And I learned this about money a long time ago. Like how much money is out there? There's a certain amount of US dollars in circulation, right? And that's one measurement. Let's say there's $1 billion out there. You're saying, well, Nick, there's not $1 billion. It's $1 trillion GDP. Yeah, because that $1 billion changes hands. So if I give the $10 to Larry and Larry gives the $10 to Robert, and then you give it back to me, that's 3 transactions. If I did that right? And then the government will take their percentage of each transaction. And so what you guys have to understand, there's a certain amount of homes in your marketplace, right? We want them changing hands.
Mhm.
Whether or not the values go up or not is just perception. It doesn't affect your business. It can't. It does because it changes behaviors and who has the most pain and where the opportunity.
Basically, it doesn't change what you need to do.
There's lateral effects there,
Right.
And so it's good to know that. But you have to understand, you want to look at transactional. See, right, what's happening in my marketplace is it's like a sludge. It's like we got like a traffic jam. Like there's a stalemate, you know. The Hatfields versus the McCoys, the buyers versus the sellers. The sellers don't want to come down and the buyers don't want to pay it. So we're just kind of at the stalemate. That's what it feels like in my marketplace.
Yeah.
Right. But it doesn't mean that there's not new buyers being born every day. New millennials that are saying, I'm sick and tired of being a renter. And when is it going to be my turn?
Mhm.
You know, there's 70 million millennials going, what the FF? What the F? When's it my turn? Like baby boomers, when you going to get out of the way, baby? You know, again, I'm Gen X, so we're like, it's kind of good. I like selling to the baby boomers, and I can't wait for the millennials to get that money, right? Because
I can sell to them too.
Yeah,
It's
so
funny.
yeah,
I knew I liked Nick because I'm Gen X as well. I knew I liked you for a reason.
yeah. But the millennials are like, what the heck? So, anyways, you know, we got this little like stalemate going on, and as a real estate agent, you know, I'm on my soapbox about appreciation, depreciation. It's like, what's that matter to you? It just meant, what matters is who does that affect and who can I help?
Mhm.
Absolutely. All right. So listen, I have to add yet another thing because
We haven't even talked about AI yet.
I know we're about to. Because we got to get into it. I have to add one more thing to the conspiracy thing because my brain couldn't help but follow that rabbit trail. 2 years ago, the New York Stock Exchange also bought one of Black Knight's biggest competitors. There is some serious data consolidation now happening where independent sources are now becoming codependent or even conglomerate sources where now the data is being filtered through one, we'll say, review versus coming from multiple. And the thing is this data heavily influences the perception of the housing market. So I will leave it at that. Real quick, 57% of recent borrowers used rate buydowns. Larry, here's what I'm going to ask you to do, okay? Because we need to get into AI. I'm going to ask you, maybe you and I will do a separate segment or something. Maybe we'll push it towards next week and bring it up again. I think we should talk a little bit about the difference of rate buydowns. They're not all the same. There's different methods, different pros and cons.
Yep.
And then another thing we're going to talk about was Black Knight kind of contradicting themselves, saying despite price corrections, home value in the nation's 50 largest markets remain elevated from 19% to 66% since the start of the pandemic. So I think we might ship these off for later, Larry. Right?
Oh, yeah, Black Knight. Keep them confused, baby. Keep them confused.
Right? Seriously. So let's do some AI though, okay? So Larry or Nick, what we do at the end of each kind of topic is we ask you whether you think it's news or noise. So Nick, the question for you is Black Knight's most recent negative prediction on growth rate for homeowners, news or noise?
It's news, but the index is noise because you don't know what index means. What's the algorithm? What's the formula? That's both BBS.
And we can't even fact check it anymore because they're buying up all the competitors.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty noisy. So the signal, though, from an expert, home values are going down.
All right, Larry.
I'm similar to Nick. I would say that it's news because it does affect perception, which of course affects our clients, right? Even if there's bad information, it still affects what they decide to do, right? So that's why it's news for us, but the news itself is noise.
News as a professional, noise as a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds like that. News because you should be aware what's happening, know what's going on.
It's the narrative,
right? Noise because the consumer, what are they going to do with that information? So we always ask them, what should you do next, right? Don't leave you hanging. What should I do with this information? Keep your pulse on it. Keep your eye on it. Keep watching, study the data, and then have a trusted local expert who is keeping you ahead of the times or as up to date as possible so that you can make moves now.
Mm-hmm.
Make moves
and
now.
if you confuse, as a real estate agent, if you confuse, you lose. Right? If you use fear tactics to make sales, you're not going to make sales. You might get eyeballs, you might get clicks, but you're not going to make sales. So here's the thing. I would say, I'd ask my client at boots on the ground. I'd ask my client, what is one thing you don't want to see happen in the home buying process? What is one thing you fear? Do you have a fear in pursuing the home buying process? Do you have a fear when it comes to putting your home on the market?
Well
and if they say, well, I'm worried prices are going to go down further. Well, I'm worried I'm going to overpay for a home, right? Then you can talk about rate. Well,
I love that.
We'll buy down the rate. Okay, no problem. We'll offer low, right? We'll hedge our bets, right? So get into their fear because their fear, if they're consuming this information, it's going into their subconscious. It's there. It's running.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
And so bring that out in an emotion of fear.
Love that.
And help guide them.
All right, let's talk AI, guys. There's no way you've escaped the bombardment of ChatGPT and all things AI. AI has been rising in popularity, but none of it's really been AI, truthfully, for the last. It's just been a poor label of automatic responses, automatic or even manual responses labeled as AI. I don't know how you can get away with that, whatever. But real AI is here, and that is ChatGPT. It is a real artificial intelligence that is learning through data, and essentially it's starting to, forgive the liberal use, but think. It's starting to think about what it's being asked and how it answers it. It's still rudimentary, right? But it is beyond anything we've ever seen before. This is what happens every time a brand new invention comes up, though. Ethics. Nobody's really talking about the ethics, in my opinion. They're just talking about the next wave. And I think it's great. But I want to give us a second to kind of briefly talk about blessing or curse for real estate agents. And then we'll talk a little bit about ethics if we have time. So some of the schools, there's schools that actually had AI take tests and passed and got a final exam score, passing score for degrees. Now, we're talking about conspiracy theories, right? The schools go, oh, that's terrible, and it shouldn't be able to do that. And students should still go to school and learn all this stuff. Okay, do you still use an abacus? Or do you use a calculator? Do you use something that makes you more efficient, more effective? You still know how to use a calculator, so what you need to know has shifted. You don't necessarily need to know the long algorithmic process as much as you need to know how to use the processor of that action, task, or anything like that. So my question, Nick, if you want to take this one, is do you think real estate agents should fear ChatGPT or embrace it?
I 100% embrace it because you have two options, right? If you fear it and you don't use it, and it is what it is, and it disrupts as though we think we are, you're not going to be a real estate agent. If you embrace it, you have a chance to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Right. And I just saw Steve Jobs did it. Oh man, it was so good. Steve Jobs, 1984. I think it was 83 or 84. He was talking about how he thought the Macintosh was similar to, they rated mammals and animals efficiencies in travel. And they found that the condor with the long wingspan had the best energy, the energy output for distance, right? Because it could glide. A human being was way down on the list. It was like halfway, right, between elephant and condor, right? Right? And but here's what happened. They then took a human being on a bicycle, and a human being on a bicycle was 2-3 times better than a condor, right? So think about AI that way, right? A real estate agent with AI could be the human being on a bicycle.
Yep.
Could be. Is it? Could it be a distraction too? Possibly. But I think it's more like moving us forward.
Mark Warner says you have to embrace it. How many people said the internet was a fad? I mean, there's so many things that are fads. And here's a good
Oh
rule
yeah,
of
there's
thumb.
tons of real estate agents that refuse to put their listings online.
Yeah.
They're not with us anymore.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I get that there's a lot of gimmicks and scams, but there's a really easy way, not perfect, but easy way to look at anything and kind of decipher whether it's worth more research. And here's what it is. Does it solve a problem within its respective industry that needs to be solved? Right? That hasn't had people trying to solve it even. I always say, here's kind of my rule of thumb. Anytime someone says too big to fail or that's the way it goes, means it is right around the corner disruption. Right around the corner. Blockbuster said we're too big to fail, and this is the way it goes. Nobody will ever want to do it differently than the way we do it. And that is why right around the corner. Anybody heard of PriceSmart? Yeah, that's the Costco before Costco came around and acquired them, because they said that the way they do it was the best way and nobody would want it any other way. You see, they're deciding for people what people want versus serving people and heightening their experience and their needs and diving deeper.
Larry, did you have something? You were like, see your mute popping in and off.
Oh, I was actually coughing. I didn't want to cough.
So here's one way to think about it. So I was talking to a friend of mine who's an author, New York Times bestseller, wrote a book that has over 2 million copies sold, and growing, trending. In fact, this book was I want to leave it anonymous, but it was the #1 selling business book in India last month. The whole
All right. I almost feel like this is a mystery now. Like
1.3 billion people. It was the #1 business book in India. Okay, so here we go. I asked him. I said, "Hey, what do you think about ChatGPT 3? Because OpenAI. I mean, you're an author. Because now this thing can write like pretty good."
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, I'm a little worried for sure." He goes, "But here's how I look at it. Magnus Carlsen is the world champion chess player. If you don't know this, he's the master, like undisputed, highest rated chess player ever. Right? They've had AI that could beat him for the last 20 years. Kasparov, if you remember, Kasparov went up against AI and lost, and he's considered the greatest chess player of all time. Him and Magnus, right? So here's the thing. AI has been around in chess, has been better than all of the human chess players for 20 years. But Magnus became better because of it. He's used it as a training tool, as an analyst tool, as a way to get better. So the way I'm looking at this going, as a marketer, as an advertiser, as a writer, I'm using it as a sounding board, as a reverberator board, as a springboard to get better.
Yep.
So that brings up the topic. And Larry, I can't wait to hear from you on this. I'll let you lead this one off. Can you give a couple examples of how ChatGPT might help agents? And you can also throw in loan officers as well from your perspective. Can you give a couple good examples, even if you're not like fully integrated with yourself? I know that you're big on automations. You've got the robot army that you talk about. So I know the idea of automation, assistance, efficiency, right? Things like that.
Yeah. So, my brand, the Robot Army, is designed to wake up real estate agents and loan officers that automations and things like this is going to exist and it's going to take over, kind of like the Terminators, right? So my job is to help you build the Robot Army to fight the Terminators. I'm like the John Connors of real estate and mortgages, right? So I'm trying to get you acclimated to the mindset. So it's all about motivation. So I think that a good example that agents can use and loan officers use AI is just to learn from it. Use it in your daily life, right? Become a consumer of it. Because if you become a consumer of it, you're going to understand what the consumer is going to experience when they start wanting to buy houses. Because you bet your ass, consumers are going to use AI to ask questions and learn things about real estate, about mortgages, about interest rates. What is DTI? What is what's the best time to buy? They're going to ask these questions. So if they ask ChatGPT and ChatGPT gives an answer, you better know what the answer is, so you're prepared to have that conversation
Kind of
when
reminds me of Zestimates, right? Like,
exactly.
I
That's basically what it
always
is.
told
Yes.
people before I ever went into a listing presentation, I knew what Open Door, what Zillow, what Express Offers. I knew what every instant offer was on that home. So the moment the client says, "Well, Zillow said this,"
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't shocked and in awe and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Of course they're going to wonder. We all want to know.
Yep.
What are we worth? And they're going to always look for the highest number. Why wouldn't we? That's so counter our
Absolutely.
brain.
Yeah, Sun Tzu said that every war is won or lost before it's begun, right? You need to know what's going on with the terrain and the enemy, right? And ChatGPT is the enemy of all of us. What I mean by that is they're going to compare us to what ChatGPT said.
Oh, well said.
ChatGPT is going to end up being like he said, sounding board, like Nick said, it's sounding board, right? It's going to be literally the person that we ask first, and then we're going to fact check it with our real estate agents. We're going to fact check it with our loan officers. We're going to fact check it with our doctors and our mechanics and everyone else, right? ChatGPT is basically like the smarter Google, right? So I think that agents, the way it can help is you need to go in there and you need to learn from ChatGPT. You need to ask them questions. You need to be preemptive and think about what clients might ask, and you ask it yourself so you know what ChatGPT is telling them. That way,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know what you're
I
dealing
think
with.
that's such a great point, Larry. And you know, it's. I love going back to the Zestimate thing because go on Facebook, type in Zestimate in any real estate group, and you've got 100,000 agents complaining about their clients going to a Zestimate. And it's like, instead of complain about it, understand the psychology behind it.
Mhm.
What they're really saying is, one, here's the truth, right? Here's the truth. I'm not 100% convinced that the numbers you gave me are the best numbers that I can get. And then two, or type of thing, you didn't give them numbers yet. And they're waiting on you, and they don't want to wait on you. So they're going to, that's why I tell people, like, people are like, they're waiting to give people evaluations of their homes. They're not using programs like HomeBot or other things to keep people updated. I'm like, send it to them anyway. Stay ahead of them so that when they think about it, they already have it in front of them from you. You're the one who brought them value. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, on the thread you guys are pulling here, I made untold millions on advertising on Google pay-per-click, Google AdSense, as they used to call it, Google AdWords, putting placement up there. So when people had intent, real estate, homes for sale in my area, they'd click on go to my website. Real estate agents in my area, I wanted my ad up there, placed up there, right? And they would go to my website. They would call me for the answer. Okay, well, what's happening now is Microsoft purchased OpenAI, or they didn't purchase it, but they invested in it. Bing is already integrated chat into their search. So search is going to change where they're going to have intent for queries for websites, but they're also just going to ask it.
Mhm.
What do I do? What do I do first? What do I do next? How do I find out what my home's worth? And there's going to be ad placement in there. There's going to be ways for you to put yourself on that page, right? So there's going to be ways to position yourself in the way the consumer is going to interact with it online. I'm curious how that's going to work out. I know that I'm going to pay money to be right there. I'm going to pay money, baby. When someone's like, so how do I prepare my home for sale? And ChatGPT goes, well, make sure you're decluttered, depersonalized, whatever. Because here's the thing, they're not going to ask you anymore. They're going to ask GPT first. Okay, well, I want to have an ad right there where they're like, well, have Nick's team come over there and help you execute on that process.
Yep.
Now, that's one thing. Now, I could tell you right now, we actually started, me and my friend Saneet, who I coach with. He's a coach.
Yes.
We
Saneet
started
is amazing.
top team in California. We did an AI course, a cohort, Robert, and we have this 4-week cohort going on. I can tell you what we're doing is we're using chat to build blogs, build SEO, build out community pages, build out resource pages, right? Because websites are going to be less effective, but there's still some organic traffic. There's still some Google searching going on there. We're using it to create email sequences, automation to reach out to first-time home buyers, homeowners in our marketplace. So putting them on really great drip systems, like not cookie cutter BS, but like really good drip systems. Social media content is just the quality and the engagement I'm getting on social media using chat to help me with my writing is going through the roof. And we're doing, far as like video content, YouTube videos, ideas, using it to get ideas for like content, like give me 10 YouTube titles that would be my audience is homeowners, and it gives you some amazing ones in the style of Mr. Beast. Give me 10 YouTube titles, with my target audience being a homeowner in the style of Mr. Beast, and it'll be like, one tank versus 10 cars. It's like, it's just amazing stuff. And my headlines, my title to my emails, I ask ChatGPT all the time, hey, write a subject email line for this email, and it gives me something even better. My open rates are through the roof.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And here's the thing, and this is what I feel like it's a good point that you kind of said without saying, which is it's going to be useless if you don't have a purpose. But if you have a purpose, it's going to heighten it. Here, let me give you an example. So I write books. I write big, giant fantasy books. I have one coming out very soon. I cannot wait to launch that for everyone. I love fantasy books. And I said, okay, what can I use ChatGPT for? Okay. And so I would have ChatGPT look at what I wrote, maybe a scene that I felt was a little bit weak. Now, here's the thing. When you ask ChatGPT and you give it some generic things, have a guy fight another guy with a sword. You know what comes out? 2 guys are fighting with a sword. And it's really boring and it's really bland.
It's bland.
But when you have a vision, right? Like Nick said, I want to reach first-time home buyers. So write me a YouTube headline in the style of Mr. Beast. What he's saying is I'm very intentional on how I'm trying to present this message. ChatGPT says, I know who Mr. Beast is. I know who first-time home buyers are. And I know what a headline is. So I'm going to give you things that now, so like all the article briefs for this show, run through ChatGPT. I'll take an entire article and ask ChatGPT to summarize it for me. Then, if I feel it's a little too bland, I ask it to make it more dramatic. I literally say, make that more dramatic. I needed to have some energy to it, right? Sometimes, Larry knows this, I ask really awkward, goofy questions on the show. Like instead of just asking a blatant question, I'll ask a really backwards one because it just makes you stop and think and like, what did he just really ask me? I'll ask ChatGPT, give me like some really sarcastic questions to ask people about this topic. It changes everything. The headline for today, ChatGPT, like so much. But if you have no purpose or vision with it, it is a useless tool, and it will useless for you.
Yes.
But it will be an asset to those who have purpose and vision. And I think now more than ever as agents, you need to look at your business and say, what am I actually trying to do? I always tell people, you know what a brand is to me? People go logos and color schemes. And I go, no, that's makeup. That's makeup, right? It's not you, but it is makeup. It helps you look a certain way. I believe that a brand is how you make people feel when they think of you, when they work with you, when they have that after effect, if you will. Right. I believe that it's the feeling that people get when they're in some professional and personal sense with you. You have a brand with your spouse. You don't think you have a brand with your spouse? Your spouse knows certain characteristics about you. That is your brand. Mm-hmm. That's why we assume things in our spouses, right? They created a brand for us and we assume things, right?
Yes.
All right, man, we're at the clock. So, there's more I wanted to talk about, but man, we could go on for all these topics. I probably should have just done one of them. I thought we'd have enough time, but we just get into it. We'll have to bring Nick back and get some more talk about AI. Maybe we'll bring an example each of how we're doing something crazy in AI to just tease you all and show you in real life, because I think that'd be awesome. And Nick can also bring back and show some results of what he's had in his program too. I'm all about that. You're one of the few people, Nick, that I would ever bring on a show and willingly share a paid product that they have, because I do believe that you bring that. So, news or noise, Nick? It's just ChatGPT coming in and being a blessing or a curse. Is it news or noise?
Oh, it's news. It's a big locomotive and you can see the light coming down the tunnel.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
coming. It's here. I mean, it's loud. It's noise.
It's loud.
But it's news. It's 100% news.
News. Larry, news or noise?
I've been AI has been news to me since the day I started in real estate, 2017. I've been talking about everything is automated, and this is just another iteration. My favorite part about this,
underwriting.
yeah, oh yeah, automated underwriting, yeah.
Oh my god!
And the reason why I love this news is not only is ChatGPT bringing something to the table, it's going to inspire a lot more.
Google's already developing theirs.
Yeah, everyone's
I
in the
didn't bring it up because
ChatGPT
we didn't
game.
have time, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, I
no,
love the competition. I love the competition that's coming.
Make it better. That's right.
It's going to get so much better.
Oh
ChatGPT
man,
is going to create its own ChatGPT.
so we got news and news. So the final thing I'm going to leave with you, agents, is what should you do next? Be humble and study. Just spend a little bit of time asking questions. That here's a little test for you. Okay, go to ChatGPT. It's a little bogged down right now because it's that amazing. Just wait until the it's very affordable.
I got the paid version.
Huh? Yeah,
I got the paid version.
You already got it?
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for I'm on the wait list, man. Can you elbow someone over there for me, please?
Okay, I'll hook you up.
I need to get that pay version, bro. I can't be waiting.
I got it.
So here's what you do, agents. I want to give you a really easy crash course into just something you can test out. Go sign up for ChatGPT when you can get in. Okay, I'm not telling you to pay right away. Just play the dice of when you can get in.
OpenAI.
Oh, OpenAI. Thank you. Chat.openai. And ask it questions that clients have asked you before. Look at your text messages, your Facebook messages. Just look at it and say, what would ChatGPT, how would ChatGPT answer this question? Because then you're going to get a hint at what soon ChatGPT will be telling your clients directly before they ever even think about talking to you. And you'll have an understanding of
it's like
what
having
the conversation is.
It's like having a cheat sheet on the exam of life, right? Like how do I get this girl interested in me? Hey, ChatGPT, how do I get this girl interested in me? And then boom, they send it to you, and then you just send it off. Right?
Yeah.
Nick, can I share? I got to share one example with you. Okay, can I tell you? Because this one blew my mind. Okay, there's a great author, Nick Schusterman. He wrote the Unwind series. Fantastic writer. Really love his style. He's got the perfect blend of, yeah, it's young adult, but it feels mature versus a lot of young adult. You almost feel like it's a child, right? He's got that perfect blend. And he also writes really serious political, like fantasy stories. So, you've got that depth of reality in it. I said, hey, ChatGPT, take this piece and write it in the style of Neil Schusterman. And then I said, I'm going to take the test even farther. So here's what I did. I took one of the best-selling authors of all time, J.K. Rowling. I took the first paragraph of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I said, I want you to write it as if J.R.R. Tolkien wrote it. And it was mind-boggling, the fact that it was truly two different authors.
Wow.
It wasn't like they switched out some words. It understood how Tolkien writes. And yeah, Mark Warner was actually there. He said it was incredible. Mark was actually there at the title office when I freaking thought of this idea. I was like, I got to see this. So what that means is like the barrier of your ability to level up is actually being removed. Now it's just your ability to use it, how you handle. Right now you have access to the weapon. So now you got to work on your proficiency. Can you shoot accurately?
Yeah. To that point, I think it just came out that one of the first, I think, presidents of a country used, I don't know what country it was, used AI to write their speech. And they actually admitted it. right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you think the president wrote all the speeches,
Watch The West Wing, please.
they were using human AI for a long time, or human intelligence for a long time. So
Right.
actually, for my year-end team party, Christmas party, holiday party, but year end, you want to lay out the mission and reiterate the mission and talk about the vision for the new year, 2023. And I had to write my speech. And I had it write it in different styles. And one of the styles was actually Winston Churchill, and it blew my mind, right? We have these obstacles and we'll never give up and we're going to overcome and we'll never surrender. It was just like this really good stuff. And that didn't mean, Robert, that I don't have to be good at public speaking.
Well, if you gave it nothing to go off of, and let's be real, if you didn't accomplish anything as well, if you were a crummy leader who had nothing to say, ChatGPT isn't going to make you better. What do they say? You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd.
Well, yeah. And so ChatGPT, like AI, you got to think like the lateral thinking, because now you can actually write a speech. What does that make your skill set? What skill set do you now need to have? Public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So your excuse for not doing public speaking before and being a good leader
is no longer being a writer. That's right.
Speech.
Yeah.
Well, now you got a speech.
Yep.
And so now it's like, okay, lateral thinking. Now, okay, Nick McLean, I need to be better at being an orator and being able to talk online by video. I need to be able to present this content. Now that I can create so much content, now I need to know how to implement the content. So many real estate agents are going to be distracted by it. And the people that learn how to use, the problem is we're going to have so much content. How do we get it out there in a way that's consumable?
Yes.
Differentiates
the
yourself.
Focus changes. The skill set changes.
Totally.
All right, let's wrap this show up. I'm going to pose a challenge to you guys. You don't have to accept, but I want to pose it to you. Here's what I'm going to propose. Larry, from a mortgage lending side, in a couple weeks, you're going to come back on the show with Nick. Okay. And you're going to present 2 or 3 amazing ways that you believe lenders can be and should be using ChatGPT. Nick, same thing for you. You pick what you want. You can do it from a brokerage level, team leader level, or an agent level, but I would say, or one of each. And then what I'll do is I'll come from a creative perspective, authorship, songwriting, TV scripts, all things I've written, all things that I've had successfully published, produced, bought, whatever you want to say. And I'll show so that we can kind of give people a widespread understanding of the depth. Really just scratching the surface, but just saying, here it is. What do you guys say? A couple weeks?
That's good.
Meet back here and have some real fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. I'm down for
it. All
it.
right. Larry, thank you for being on the show, brother. Always appreciate you coming in and consistently doing What the Mortgage is going on. You are dependable, reliable, and I love your energy and I appreciate you. Guys, every week, What the Mortgage with Larry. We'll see you. And then Larry, thank you. Nick, brother, thank you for coming on the show. I was so stoked. I couldn't wait. I can't wait to show you version 2 of this show. It will blow your mind.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and can I chime in real quick about Nick?
Yeah.
I just met Nick for the first time, and I love the guy already because he said exactly what I feel about mortgages and real estate agents. I think the whole stay in your own lane is the worst advice you can ever give to anybody. Agents need to know what's up. And Nick, the fact that he's the top producer and he said that, it's like it gave me tingles when I first heard that. So thank you very much, Nick. I mean, you basically made my day. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Nick, for being on the show, guys. I appreciate you, and I can't wait for our challenge and follow up in a couple weeks. I am stoked to see what we come up with and kind of some of the results that we've seen from it. So thank you for being on the show. For everybody else, leave some comments of what you have seen in your ChatGPT world and also in your local market with home appreciation. Remember, at the end of the day, you're the local news network for your clients. You're the local news network. What are you presenting and what are they saying? I want to know. Drop it in the comments. Also, if you want to see anything specific from Nick or Larry regarding our little ChatGPT challenge, or if you got questions in general for what we've covered today, drop them in the comments. They are super active. I'll make sure that they get those questions, and we'll have an awesome follow-up segment. Thank you for tuning in. This is Scale Through the Fail. Real estate news, noise, and what to do next with all this information every single Friday live, 9 a.m. Central. I am your host, Robert Bean. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.